Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Shai, Hashem, Harakah, Kadash, double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Most Honorable Well, Shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah. This is news and prophecy, prophecy and news update. The date today is the 24th of April, 2026, the year of um, apostates, agents, and sellouts, as well as a hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. All right, we see loads of things mounting up right now that are showing that. All right, and this is actually old news, but it's very important as of today, and it really shows you how you know he's got a plan, right? He's got a plan, and ultimately it's in the hands of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, whose name is Yahweh. All right, because as it tells you in the Bible, all right, that the wicked were made for the day of evil. All right, and really, if you want to go, Paul elaborates deeper on it by reference in Romans the ninth chapter by reference into Pharaoh in Egypt, how he basically was propped up, put on a pedestal for the Heavenly Father to make him a great power on the earth, so that he could show his great power with um, through his people Israel. All right, so this man E that's ruling has been put in this position that he's in to bring a time like never seen before upon the earth, to the point so much so that if the time wasn't shortened, there'll be no flesh to be saved. That's how um, potent this man's wickedness is, all right? And it really shows you that the Heavenly Father, he's perfect in his ways, all right? He made a man for evil, and he's being evil. But the point being is that these things that are manifesting upon the earth right now is heading to um, a surefire destination or um, prophetic events coming to pass. All right, the main three, that being of uh World War Three, well, sorry, the MOTB, Revelations 13, go to that 16th verse. All right, um, World War Three, and Yahweh return, basically bringing about the kingdom of heaven, where the elect will be saved out of the destruction of this man's rulership. All right, Babylon the Great, headed by America, the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Right, but the point being is that these things are all, and it's really why the spirit of the update is where it is, because this is just to show you that you know these things are happening, all right, and they're all heading in one direction, all right, and this is really for the elect, because as it tells you in the book of Isaiah, it says that basically the children of Israel, all right, that aren't of Israel, are basically going to be blinded until the time of the destruction, all right. But the elect, they're gonna see these things and be able to understand what they're seeing. All right. So I got this article from CNBC.com. I also have another one from released the same day. Funny enough, out here in the UK. All right. But I'm just gonna read a little bit. So it's a key points: electronic shelf labels, digital screens that display the price of an item are replacing traditional paper price tags in grocery stores across America. Digital price tags may enable Kroger and other grocery chains to transition to dynamic pricing, in which the price of basic household goods could surge based on time of day, the weather, or other transitory events. All right, and you got to be mindful, because this isn't saying so far fetched. Because right now, what's the main, in terms of inflation? What's the main tool that's being utilized? Shrinkflation. All right, that's one of the greatest tools that's being used right now. You don't realize you're feeling the hit. All right, unless you get a sense of. It's funny because I go to an Eastern European shop to pick up a couple bits and pieces from there, and the size of their Snickers bars, bloody hell, it reminds me of like growing up what they used to look like. All right, so it shows you there's a difference. All right, because obviously they're dealing with different factories out there, and I guess different forms of legislation, and there's not a need for shrinkflation in the way that there is over here in the Western world. All right, but the point being is that with that being a tool that's being utilized where you're getting less for the same price, things like basing, transitioning payments due to things being in season. And I see it all the time, even with like clothing. I know to buy when I buy my puffer jacket or my little down-filled Parker jacket or whatever, I always buy it in summertime or when it's going through the transitory period because that's when they're trying to offload the last bits of their products. All right. And then same way when as soon as the bloody you might have something that you're gonna buy that's maybe for like the spring season. The moment spring comes around, the price hops up because it's like, oh yeah, everyone's gonna be buying spring clothing. All right. So this is very normal. So Rena said Senator Elizabeth Warren and then Senator Bob Casey in a letter to Kroger. The facts there is no surge pricing currently occurring, said Ioannis Santopoulos, it's a Greek name, an associate professor at the University of Texas at Austin. Electronic shelf labels, digital screens that display the price of an item, are replacing traditional paper price tags in grocery stores across America. The technology can already be found at Whole Foods, Amazon Fresh, and Kroger, along with stores in Canada, Europe, Asia, and other regions. Electronic shelf labels, that's where it is. For what? As there was a video I was gonna do, I knew it was hit me as soon as I read this, man. For what? All right, man. Electronic shelf. What are you? Electronic shelf labels are expected to become more common. The global market for the products was estimated at 1.85 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach 7.54 billion by 2033, according to Grand View Research. All right. And really, where things are going, when you look at this is October, mind you. So we're not even talking about the Strait of Hormuz having a global ripple effect due to Donald J. Trump's witty thinking and going to war with Iran, right? But this is all the spirit manifesting the times that the things that are written inside of the Holy Bible, all right? It's definitely an industry that is looking at significant double-digit year-over-year growth for the foreseeable future, said Cullen Hendricks, senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Walmart, the largest US retailer, has said it plans to roll out electronic shelf labels to 2,300 stores by 2026. The company said the technology allows employers to update shelf prices using a mobile app, reducing price change that typically takes an associate 2 days to a matter of minutes, right? And this is even something that feeds into AI coming for your jobs because now someone can get the data, program it all, and a job that would have took man hours of 48 hours, multiple employees. Now at the stroke of a finger, all right, basically or the stroke of the hands typing at a computer desk, a desktop can just change all the prices, and then eventually, really AI, all right, will be automated. The only impediment, impediment, impediment to how let me look that up. hindrance, Im- impediment, impediment. Uh, the only impediment to how quickly they can change prices at this point is how long it takes the human in the loop to decide to change the prices, said Hendricks. All right. Okay. Uh, but some lawmakers fear that electronic shopping will enable grocery stores to raise prices during periods of high demand. Digital price tags may enable Kroger and other grocery chains to transition to dynamic pricing, in which the price of basic household goods could surge based on the time of day, weather, or other transitory events like a lack of access to those products. You know, Salakia, man, um, allowing stores to calibrate price increases to extract maximum profits. So that's the point. It really was lined up in there. Let me throw you some scriptures, man. So this is we'll start with Mark 13 and 8. For nation shall rise. No, this is Yahweh speaking to the disciples. All right, basically letting them know the signs of the times as far as it's coming. That is part of it. All right. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And we're seeing that division, you know, establishing right now. If Satan be divided against Satan, how then shall his kingdom stand? All right. We've seen the main fracture with the 10 toes, part being of iron and part being of miry clay. How that they don't basically um, ag- they're not in agreement as they once was. All right, and it's really due to prophecy in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter. It says that they came together, they all have power of kings, but they basically made America, the leader. But it was only made for them to agree for a season. Okay, so this is the end of that season coming into play. All right, you got Spain out in, the week of the pigs out of the 10 toes, basically out in America. And you have different people saying different things. Okay, showing you there's uh disillusion in the ranks. And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, we're seeing that, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrow. So this is something that's written. All right, there's going to be famines. Let's delve. Let's build upon that. This is the book of Second Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to them, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword of their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. And this is what we're seeing right now: Iran, Ukraine, Russia. There's many theaters of war at play right now, and they're only gonna, escalate. We see what Trump sat down with General Motors and various different manufacturing industry giants, all right, to basically speak about going into the old wartime spirit of building up their munitions, right, after being exposed by Iran that the guerrilla warfare tactics being implemented with low tech basically, outed their useless artillery, all right, and the markup on American technology is crazy, is stupid, stupendous. All right, so Iran, they just outed them, so they need to build up their munitions. So what does that mean? It means that there's more fight in America and there's more fight coming to the world. This is why when Trump come into office, he changed the Department of the Defense, all right, into what? He threw it back to the old wartime spirit of World War II. and really showing you that we're in that time. All right, he named it the Department of War. All right, this man's coming to get some blood in his shirt, man, or in his hand, should I say? Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And this is what's going to come on a ground level amongst the people, right? Starting over there in America, you're going to have it where the society as you know it is going to fracture, and you're going to have people fighting amongst themselves. And the course of their actions basically is going to be in their own power. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And that's Lord willing, I'm going to do a video on that, depending on my time. And basically, you have they're rolling out the first 15-minute city, I believe, in Oxford. All right. So they're really building that infrastructure, they're putting it in place. And what you always got to remember is that this is the decade of change. All right. From 2020, this decade started with a bang. All right. It rolled over. Like, this is a monumental, pivotal year for the elite, illuminated ones on the left hand side. They are looking to establish their enterprise as we speak, and they're doing, the cogs are moving, and they're doing so as such whether you like it or not. All right, that's where they're headed. So this is why these things are manifesting, and where really is coming to the wire. We're in the you know, injury. I wouldn't say injury time. Probably better to say we're in the fourth quarter, man. 2026. It's going down the wire. All right. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And I always think of Contagion when you had the people, the plague break out, and they heard someone had something. You had people within the neighborhood gathering together to basically go into an individual's yard or house. Sorry, excuse me. Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So this is what's coming. All right. Famine is on the cards. And we've seen this, and you gotta always remember as well, the Heavenly Father deals with gradualism. All right. We're seeing the elites utilize gradualism. With the war in Ukraine, what happened with the breadbasket of the world? All right, their production suffered greatly. There's many different, like when you look at most kingdoms, empires, cities, whatever have you, the way they fall from grace is a continual downward spiral. All right, and we're on that trajectory right now. So this is James 5:1. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, your garments are moth eaten. Right. So this is dealing with, the elites of this world. They basically have this plan that ultimately is going to allow them to eat forever, going to allow them to, what they believe live forever, to allow them to rule, which in turn allows them to rule forever. All right. But the reality of the situation is that the Heavenly Father has laid a snare for them. Right. He's lying in wait for them. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. And this move right here, as you can see, they can make a killing from this. All right, if they set up an algorithm correctly with the AI, working it, okay, basically they can clean up shop, get get even more money in their pockets from the world over. They said this is out in Canada, Europe, Asia, most of the Western world, countries. I forgot what they call it. The 33, the new, like the first world, basically, where the greatest amount of capital in the world is. It's gonna make them even more rich beyond even considering all the other things that they do. All right. So this is part of them heaping treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. Right. And this is basically fraud. All right. As it tells you in Proverbs 11:1. All right. Equal weights and just balances. Actually, I'm confusing it with the law, uh, the delight of the Heavenly Father. But let me quickly read Proverbs 11:1. It says, "A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight." And that goes back to the law in let's pull it up real quick in Leviticus. It says 1935. Um, actually, let me read Deuteronomy 25:13 to 16. It says, "Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house diverse measures, a great and a small." And this is, showing you that this is something that the Heavenly Father had to really establish, because Jacob was doing according to his name, all right, to the letter, being a supplanter. But the Heavenly Father wanted to establish a righteous kingdom, a righteous people. This is why this had to be said, right? Because this ruminates all across the board, all right? This isn't as simple as, diverse weights in a bag. This is more even on a spiritual level, all right? But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power giveth thee. For all that do such things and all that do righteously are an abomination unto unrighteously are an abomination unto the Lord Yahweh thy power. All right. So going back to what I was reading, I'll read it again. Verse 4: Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, right? And this is, all the people, but more so, who is the most defrauded people upon the face of the earth, all right? In the book of Wisdom of Solomon, my brain went blank. The fifth chapter. Oh, it says, it's right there, man. I might as well read it. Um, there you go. Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account for his labors. All right, starting with Judah, all right, over there in the land of America, going into hardcore slavery, all right, according to the prophecy in the book of Deuteronomy 28, all right, that's whose labor is made no account of, and that's who you've defrauded the most. All right, the tribes, the heavenly Father, the apple of the Most High's eye. All right, and this is why, as it said, the gold and silver is cankered, and rusted and shall be witness against thee. Right, just because you've been keeping it warm and you feel there's a rust, there's a corruption, there's a canker on that wealth that you, even though you hold it and you feel it and you can spend it and you can use it and you can leverage it to live in a life of luxury, you don't see the blood on it, all right? The canker that basically is laid underneath and is basically gonna come to take to be your downfall. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. All right, and this is really the greatest point, because now the blood of the children of Israel has come before the Heavenly Father into his ears, and that measure, that threshold has been met. All right, and the Heavenly Father, the Lord Yahweh, as it tells you in Exodus 15:3, it tells you the Most High is a man of war. The Lord is his name. All right, Yahweh is his name. So the Lord of Sabaoth, the word Sabaoth goes back to the Hebrew Tazabah, which means hosts, armies. All right, and the Heavenly Father has multiple different armies. And in fact, he's giving you a sense of control over a sense of control over one of his armies, being the missiles. All right, but they're being made as a sword. All right, he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. The Heavenly Father's got your number. All right, and that's why, hey man, he, he's got your number. All right. So with that, I pray you were edified. This is more. pay attention to these things. Lord willing, these things are gonna happen. But being servants of the Heavenly Father, we're gonna eat, man. Right? We're gonna eat. All right. But be mindful of the times that we're heading into. All right. So with that, pray you're edified. Shalom.